What's going on, guys? Welcome to Boosted Motorsports. Today's video, we're going to be working on this Dodge Ram 1500 SST edition with the 5.7 liter HEMI swap and an 8-speed. That was a lot to get out, but here it is. If you guys are new to the channel, we've got this 5.7 liter HEMI in here, and she's running and almost driving. It's running a Holley Alternator X Max computer, standalone computer, and originally this truck, somebody had previously put a 727 transmission in it. We got that removed, and now we have the 8-speed in it. So if you guys saw the last video, we installed the 8-speed, got the drive shaft on there, but now it's getting into hooking everything up and getting everything working. So I also told you guys that we were missing a few things. I had to get a new starter motor because the old one from our 46RE or 727 was different. So I've got a starter motor that will bolt up to our 8-speed. You're also going to notice this wire, and what this is a single wire from Holley that connects to our single wire alternator. So this is going to fix all of our issues with charging. If you guys were following along, we were trying to manipulate the factory alternator to charge, and right here you can see we had a bunch of test wires. We were trying, this one is PWM controlled, so essentially it's looking for a signal coming from the computer to tell it how much to charge. Otherwise, if you just start this up, you have your positive connected and you try to get it to do anything, it won't actually output 12 volts, 13 volts, 14 volts, whatever you're looking for. It'll just sit here and do nothing unless you tell it what to do. So we were trying to manipulate the signal to get it to turn on, but Holley has it all figured out for us. We don't have to mess with all that. I'll link this alternator down below. It's gonna be a direct replacement. So let's get this on here. You can see here it's got this style plug on it, and then all we have to do is hook up one single wire that when our key is on, that the alternator is charging. So it just needs to see 12 volts on this whenever we want this thing to kick on, and then she'll start charging. So let's go ahead, take the belt off, pop that new alternator on there, and then that's done and out of the way. Then we can lift the truck up, put the starter motor on there. In the background, I've been just working on a bunch of wiring and stuff, getting a bunch of stuff sorted out. So there's a bunch of spaghetti in there, me doing a bunch of testing, figuring out stuff. But let's work on the alternator first. We're gonna accomplish a lot in this video, and hopefully the plan is to have this thing running and driving in this episode. So let's go. All right, so there we go. Brand new alternator from Holley is in. Again, I'll link this if you guys are doing something like this. Definitely just get this, because trying to figure out what the stock alternator wants is going to be a headache. So ran the wire around. I'm gonna finalize it. Obviously, the reason why the fuse box is hanging because we've been doing a bunch of testing and getting stuff figured out, but haven't finalized this. Once we do, we'll get it all in place. So I found a source that when you turn the key on, it outputs 12 volts. So I'm gonna test it here. This is just an open relay right now. But once I finalize that and make sure that it's working okay, then I'll actually wire it in properly. But that seems to be the ticket there. What I'm gonna do now is close the doors, roll it back, put it on the lift. We'll get that starter motor in there. We still gotta put in our torque converter bolts, and we gotta loop the transmission line for now. I just ordered some fittings. So yes, I could put a transmission cooler in the front and kind of ugly it up, but I'm gonna try to find some fittings for our radiator here so that we can use the factory transmission cooler in the radiator. And also, I saw a bunch of people in the last video trying to tell me that, oh, you have to keep that cooler, blah, 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 blah. So just so you guys know, the car versions of the 8HP70s, so the Chargers, Challengers, they don't have that huge box on it, you guys. So if I really want to, if I find that my transmission is running way too cool, which it's probably not, because if I'm running it through the actual radiator, it's going to be heating it up to some degree, because obviously the radiator is getting hot from the coolant from the engine. Then I can put in a thermostat on my transmission line, which is what the factory cars, Chargers, Challengers have. They don't have a heater box on the side of the transmission. So just to clarify that, for those of you guys that don't know, I'm telling you guys, I know my shit, so don't mess with me. I got this figured out, boys. So anyways, let's go ahead, put this back, do those things I was telling you about, and we'll keep moving on. Okay, so truck is up in the air. We can go ahead, plug in our 8-speed connector. There it goes through the floor there. Oh, then we can reinstall our heat shield back because we took that off. And then we'll move on to our torque converter bolts. All right, so it wasn't that exciting, but I got the torque converter bolts in there, as you can see. I do still have to put there's like a dust spacer shield. It's almost an 1/8 inch thick. I had to order one, but we really wanted to get the transmission in here, so I do still have to order that because it will just ever so slightly space the transmission back. So that's on its way. So I'm gonna have to split the transmission from the engine at some point and sneak that in there. But if you're wondering why that's not there, that's the reason. So it's on order. Let's go ahead, throw our starter in here and connect it up. All right, so I had to convert it from this eyelet style to one of these spade connectors. So did that. I also bent this on a 90-degree because the other one kind of laid into the starter a little bit differently. But anyways, 2 connectors are there. Let's go ahead and throw this up, connect it, and starter is done. All right, so starter's in, connected, that's all done. Now we've got our lines over here. So I just made a simple loop line. Initially I put in -8 because it's kind of the size I was thinking, but I think I'm gonna go down to -6 because -8 is pretty excessive for a transmission line. So I'm gonna get some different fittings so we can reduce it down to a -6 later, but at least for now I've got a loop line, so I'm gonna loop these 2. At some point I want to buy the cable to actually engage into neutral because right now pushing the truck around, I have to manually put it into neutral down here. So if I get the cable that goes into the cab, we can mount it somewhere. So if we ever need to put this thing in neutral, we can from up above. But let's get this installed, and then let's check the fluid on the transmission after this. Okay, loop line is in place. Again, super temporary, but that's what it is. Now let's go ahead and we'll check our fluid just with it sitting here. Not sure what the level is, but at least want to make sure it's up to that bolt before we start. So I ended up checking the fluid. Promise you guys didn't miss anything exciting there. So it did run out when I took out the fill bolt. So should be good there. Let's put this thing down. Let's fire it up for the first time on the 8-speed, boys. This is kind of exciting. All right, so truck is back down. We've got 12, hopefully he's got 12.4647. Got this put in here just very temporarily, as you can see. And we're gonna go inside here. I guess the starter motor is one thing, transmission's another thing. So, like I said, don't mind the mess of wires. But we've got our 8-speed knob here, just temporarily hanging. So I gotta figure out this buzzing thing because it's an annoying attack, but there we go. So let's try starting it first and then we can go from there. She runs. All right, so we're down under the vehicle again, and I'm gonna go ahead and top it up with fluid just after we started it quickly because she is low just after that one quick start. Okay, she's all topped up again. Let's put her down and see if we've got some gears, boys. Okay, so here we go again, boys. We got her in park. Fluid's up. Let's try it. Let's try it in reverse. Ooh, we got reverse. I just put it into neutral. I need some brakes first because I can't stop the wheels. Well, let's just turn it off quick. Probably need to put... Yeah, need to get some brakes first, boys. I can't do anything as far as making it happy, so there you go. She's back in park, but I need brakes to be able to stop the wheels. Okay, so wheels work, but I gotta bleed the brakes so that we can actually stop the wheels. So let's go ahead, we'll pull a vacuum on our braking system, start bleeding it. At some point I'm probably gonna upgrade the fronts, but that time is not now, so let's just bleed what we got and go from there. Okay, so we're just bleeding the brakes, and I just decided to clean this out because there is some nasty sludge in here. So I was bleeding them, and then I figured it probably makes sense to clean out the actual reservoir. So yeah, I'm getting all this crap out of there. There we go, nice and clean. So let's get the new fluid in there. Something about that, you guys, it's just so satisfying. Nice clean reservoir with crystal clear fluid instead of that sludge. Okay, so brakes are bled. We've got brand new crystal clear fluid in there. So let's go ahead and try it out. So let's get inside the messy truck again. Definitely gotta clean up all of our wiring, but definitely have a nice solid brake pedal. Okay, let's try her out. Okay, we got brakes. Look at all the rust off the rotor. Or at least we can stop the brakes. We stop everything, put in neutral, drive. We got forward. Okay, so we got speed 6 miles an hour. Our brake is working. Let's go ahead and throw the cluster in here and see what the cluster looks like. Okay, so we got our tack working, you guys, but probably have to scale it a little bit different because it's definitely high. Look, definitely not hitting that high. If you look at our Holley, we're like 800 RPM. This is like 1500. So we're definitely not hitting 4 grand there. We're only hitting like 2 grand. But let's see what kind of speedo reading we do or don't have. We'll put it in forward. See if we get anything. No, not much anything. No speedo reading yet. All right, so next up, now that we've got it running, we're able to cycle through the gears. We are going to double check our fluid level. So I've got some fluid here. I've got our scanner connected to the transmission so I can see what the temperature is. It's almost 100 degrees out right now, plus humidity, and we can't let the transmission get over 120. So I gotta check this and make sure it's level or up to fill super quick. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna crawl under there because I kind of have to go up and down. So I kind of have it halfway up here, but just enough so that we can access our fill bolt right here. Make sure that we're up to level, and yeah, we should be good for now. But I want to at least make sure it's somewhat decently filled, just so we're not wrecking our transmission also. Let's get that done. All right, so now we got to start tidying things up and fix all this rat's nest. So one of the weird things is I got to relocate our HVAC stuff, and you can see here I have it on, but I just found out right now, I'm like, what the heck is going on with this thing? Me and Dennis were messing with this. The fuse is right here, this 30 amp. When I push on the fuse, you'll hear the fan kick on. But it's when I push on the fuse. So I'm gonna figure out what's going on with that. I'm gonna pop the fuse out. I pulled it out and put it back in, but I don't know why when you touch the fuse, it starts working. It's the weirdest thing. I mean, the fuse doesn't look terrible, unless I need to clean up the contacts on it. Very odd, but let me figure this out, and then one more thing will be out of the way. Okay, so it looks like the wire slipped out the back, so I just gotta push it back in and then we should be good. So that was the issue with that one. All right, so now the fuse is fully seated in the wire, and this works without me having to hold the fuse, so we're good. Okay, the other thing too is now that we can actually leave it running, we can double check our alternators working. There we go, 14.5. If I unplug my test wire, should drop. Yeah, so now it's running on battery. There you go. Alternator's back on. So that'll work perfectly, you guys. So she's running, she's idling. We gotta upgrade the fans. We're probably gonna put on some better fans because those cheap fans just literally vibrate the heck out of the whole truck. So have to upgrade those for sure. But she's running. It's nighttime right now, as you can see. But in the morning, I'm gonna start dressing in all those wires, get things buttoned up. Same thing with this, dress in all these wires. Okay, I'm actually feeling like working on some stuff because it's 1,000,000 degrees this week. So since it's nighttime out, I'm gonna get a little bit more done. So see this little lip right here? I just need to trim this back a little bit because wherever that is, the shifter box just kind of gets into the side of that. So I'm gonna trim that back, that way I can slide this in fully. And it looks like that screw might align. I'm not sure where I want to put this just yet, but once I just take this lip off, then I can at least kind of finalize some stuff. So let me trim that back and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I managed to get that to fit on the actual console. So after I trimmed that out, it fit, but then I kind of got a little more experimental. So I took off the big trim piece and I'm trying to decide if I want to put this touchscreen in here. I think it would fit beautifully, as well as the knob there. And I ordered some ABS plastic so that I can trace this out and then make it form fitted to this. So it's gonna look pretty trick. I'm just waiting for that to arrive. I don't know if it'll show up before the end of this episode because it's gonna be a couple days through Amazon, but yeah, this is gonna be a pretty cool setup. Again, just not sure if I want to put our touchscreen here because you don't really need to use it, but it will show some gauges and different stuff, and you can kind of see your wideband O2 sensor and how it's all running. So I think it would be kind of cool to see it. That way we could, you know, see how she's running as far as, you know, whether it's running rich or lean and all that stuff. It would show on here. And I also just got news that we are going to be getting some cool gauges for in here. So they're gonna look like factory, but newer and enhanced looking stuff. So that is apparently coming on its way. So I posted up on social media just kind of the 8-speed and the shift knob. If you guys aren't following me on Instagram and Facebook, you guys will see sneak peeks of everything. But I posted that up there and a company hit me up asking if I wanted to use their gauges. So we're gonna try them out. So lots of cool stuff coming, you guys. All right, so it's the next day and I know the Dodge fanboys are going to be pissed in the comments. So I've got 4 SST wheels, and that is 4 identical things to be able to set the truck down. This is my official for sale post. If you guys want a set of SST wheels, they're actually in decent shape. They just need to be refinished, but I'm not hurting them by doing this. But anyways, I'm just setting the truck down because I need it to be high enough off the ground, but at the same time under its weight, so that I can check the pinion angle. And rather than trying to put it up on the 4 posts and bring it back over here and then go back on the 4 posts and then bring it back over here, this just makes it so I can set it down, check it, adjust it, set it back down, and then I can weld our rear axle finally in place. So right now, this thing is just set arbitrarily and it's at about 7 degrees pointing down, which is way too much. So we're probably gonna roll that back into like 1.5, maybe 2 degrees or so, pointing down from our transmission, because since we have the transmission in here and that is set and finalized, now we need to adjust our pinion angle so I can weld up our 3rd gen rear axle swap that we did, and that can be finalized, and then we can actually hopefully road test this thing pretty soon. So anyways, I snuck under here, and like I said, we're at about 7.5 degrees. So rather than me, you know, showing you all over again, I'm gonna lift it up, rotate it. So I gotta chop out about 6 degrees or so. So I gotta rotate the pinion up about 6 degrees, and then we'll recheck it and see if we start getting more in spec. All right, so I rotated it up just a little bit, but we're still gonna have to go more. So I'm gonna take you guys along for the not so fun part of doing your pinion angle and driveline angle. So we come over here, and I'll show you guys here. We're gonna put this up here, and I'm gonna zero this out. So this will be our reference. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's 0. So double check. So we're zeroed out. And this is the flat surface of the transmission. And now we're gonna run all the way down here. And I like to go from this casting spot here. This is a 90-degree angle. So if you look here, you can see we're still 1.5 degrees down. So that means if we lift it up, we want to be pretty much zero. If you're doing like drag racing, some people like to angle it down, but it's not like we're trailering to the track with this thing, so you want it to be as parallel as possible. So I'm going to continue to lift it up so that these two numbers are both 0. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to go ahead and rotate this axle up a little bit more, try to get this as close to 0 as possible. Alright, so I did a bunch of research and I kind of want to go with almost parallel, just down ever so slightly. So if you check here, so check it out, we are pretty much zeroed out. I don't know if you guys can see that, but we're just barely down. Might go like half a degree down, as you can see there. So I've got it to where it's just about half a degree downwards. So just a tiny bit so that we're smashing on it. She is parallel, but this is pretty dang close, you guys. Definitely within operating range. So I'm kind of liking it here. I'm gonna test a couple more things, and then we'll be able to finally weld this up all solid. All right, boys, well, I just went ahead and do what I know how to do best, which is just get SHIT done. So welded up our perches for our leafs, welded up our shock brackets, and everything's all solid. I still gotta degrease this thing so I can actually paint it. Painted the old one, the drum brake one, but this one still has not gotten that extra finishing touch. I'm also waiting on some parts so that we can swap everything over, because there's no point in me filling this thing up with fluid if I'm just gonna dump it again just to put all that stuff in it. So I've got a couple tools so I can put the 392 in here and take this out, since this is a one-wheel peel anyways. So that's coming, but what I'm gonna do right now is throw the wheels on, put this thing back down on the ground, and see what we get into next. All right, so I don't know if you guys can tell, but the truck is sitting much more level than ever before. So I took out pretty much all the junk that was in the back. There was a block in this box, but now it's just nothing. It's got a couple headlights in it. So the truck, without all the weight in the back, our level or drop, whatever we're calling this, it came out pretty good. So it's pretty much dead level. Maybe could go a little lower in the front. I know the rear leaf springs, we replaced them, so these are a stout set of leaf springs. The front, I'm not too sure. There is a drop spring in the front, but I don't know if it's just since the bed's not bolted down, but I kind of feel like the front left is just a little lower. So I don't know, we'll have to look into it a little bit later. But right now what I'm messing with is I put our fuse box all back together, dress this in. I still got to do a little bit of buttoning up, but I just want to get things kind of situated. And right now our battery tray, I'm just getting it all situated, putting all the hardware in it, the little clip that holds the tie down, getting that all done. This one here, because I couldn't get it back in, it was originally missing one and I picked one up from the junkyard, so I gotta take the box out to slide this guy on so I can actually put the tie down in place. And of course painted all of our hardware and stuff, maybe not the back sides, but whatever. All from the front side is going to look decent. And yeah, just buttoning things up and getting things sorted out. I also bolted up our front bumper. I don't know if we're going to have time to get to paint on this thing before we get to Mo Party, because we are in crunch mode, boys. We've got 2 months to get 2 trucks done. So this is 2 months, 2 trucks. This is going to be hectic. So pretty much both these trucks have to be done at the beginning of September so that I have at least a week to try and test them. So this one we should be able to test for in the next couple months. That one is something I have to start from complete scratch and get going. So we got a lot of work ahead of us, boys. So let me go ahead and get the battery tray all sorted out. Okay, so battery is in. Everything's looking pretty nice here. You can see I moved the truck up a little bit, because what I want to do is I want to take off our seat brackets and whatnot and our sliders and paint them. So I'm going to take off both. That way we can start getting ready for some interior at some point, because the more we start moving this around and getting ready to actually test it, I need a seat in the thing, and you can see that they're rusty, so I want to at least paint them up so they have adequate time to dry. And yeah, so what I need to do on this one is plug it into the vehicle so I can move it forward and back because there's 13 mil bolts that are buried underneath here, so I need to get to them, so let me power it up. Okay, so I got the Scotch-Brite pad out, just giving these a quick little scuff, and then I'm gonna paint these things out in the dark so that hopefully they're somewhat dry tomorrow. All right, well, I painted them outside and then I just rolled the meth cart back in here, so we got one decent coat on them, but I gotta flip them over to the other side and probably get a couple more coats on it, but it is 10 o'clock at night, you guys, so calling it a night. And we'll continue in the morning. Okay, it's the next day. We've got these out here. I got another coat on them, and then also all of our hardware is all painted, so we'll let those dry up. And then what I'm working on right now is I'm going to start taking the 392 with the limited slip out of here and get it ready to go in there. All right, so I was just checking the backlash. It's pretty tight, but one thing I'm noticing is it might make a little noise, and even on the drive side, it's like we are maybe a little off the end of the tooth, so hopefully it doesn't whine, but anyways, it's a free set of 392s, so we'll throw it in for now, plus it's got the limited slip, so it is what it is. Let's go ahead, tear this thing apart, get the guts out, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we've got the carrier, the pinion, all the guts are out of this thing. So now let's go over to this. We'll put it back up and start tearing out the rear end in this thing. Also, everything is in super pristine shape, you guys. Like the gears look real nice. No issues there. The bearings, they still look brand new. Again, the truck is only supposed to have about 21K on it. So even though it's old, it doesn't look like any moisture or anything got in here. Everything looks great. So let's get to it. Also, before I forget, I just ordered new seat covers. So not just covers that go over these skins will actually come off, and we will be putting top and bottom brand new on these. Found them for about 500 bucks, so we'll be showing that here once they arrive. So hopefully they come out good. That one isn't, it needs some cleaning, probably needs some moisture reintroduced. This one is about 200 bucks if I want to do this, but for now, I just need to do the bare essentials. This is absolutely just shot. This one I'm going to see if I can revive. If not, we'll replace these as well. Man, I had to beat the absolute heck out of that rotor to get it off. They definitely never used their parking brake because the parking shoes are brand new, but the rotor was so on there. Like, look at how grooved this thing is. I don't know if you guys can see that step in it. Even the edge was starting to chip away, and I was beating the hell out of it. Finally got it off. But anyways, like, I don't know if you guys can see that lip. She's definitely worn, so those aren't going to be going back on, at least not permanently. Maybe just so I could roll it around. So one's off. And whatever axle this came out of, these are the original rotors, because it even has that like factory retaining clip on here. So I got to get this off and then proceed to beat the heck out of this one. Look at that lip right there. Okay, so this one's set up with quite a bit of backlash. I'll show you what I mean. So I could put a feeler gauge on this for you guys, but I'll just show you. You can visibly hear it if I hold the pinion. A little tighter than that would definitely be in order. Like, it's quite a bit. So on our setup, when we put this back together, we'll tighten it up a bit. But anyways, let's pull our pin, pull the axles. So we'll get this 5/16 out of here, pull our pin, drop our clips, and then we can start getting this whole carrier and pinion out of here. All right, well, sometimes not everything works out, so I was waiting for a tool to arrive, and what it is it's the tool that goes through here to adjust the bearings on the carrier so that you can move the carrier back and forth, because trying to use a punch in and around, you'll end up ruining the adjusters, and sometimes you can't even get to them depending on where they welded the axle tube, which in this case, I can't even get to one of the sides. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait another day or two. It was supposed to arrive today, and then Amazon completely dropped the ball and they said it might show up, so I just ordered another one, and whatever one shows up first. But I can't finish that today, but I'm still gonna keep working on the truck. So what I'm going to do, I still haven't buttoned up all the wires, but something did show up from Amazon, and what that is, and don't mind the fan, it's like 106 or 109 degrees out today, so I gotta stay cool, boys. So I got this ABS plastic, and what I'm gonna do is trace this out. And then once I trace out this ABS plastic, that'll give me the template for where this originally went, which was right here. And then hopefully I can come up with something to mount our 8-speed in here. And then I might, depending on how carried away I get, I might put this Terminator X touchscreen down here. So we'll see how that all plays out, but let's trace this out, cut out this ABS, and see what I can come up with here.
Swimming pool in my living room.
All right, so after many hours of cutting, grinding, epoxying, drilling, cutting, rechecking, I have my template, you guys. So this is my prototype for there. I'm debating whether I want to put the Holley touchscreen down here. Comment down below whether you guys want to see that, but at least I've got this mounted to a plate. Now let's put it in the vehicle. So I end up using a couple different kinds of epoxy to make my stand, and at least the concept of it. So from the front, it's gonna look perfect. It's gonna look good, but maybe if I really wanted to, at some point, maybe I can get fancy with stuff in the future. Right now, we just need to get this thing running, but then, I mean, it's gonna look perfectly fine from the outside, but it would be cool in the future to 3D print parts. So maybe I can come up with a design based off of this template that has all plastic. So that'd be pretty cool, but anyways, let's get this in and see how she looks. All right, check this out, you guys. So the bezel isn't fully pushed into place, but look how good that's gonna look. So haven't decided, take your vote down below. Should we put our Holley Terminator X touchscreen right here, or should we just leave that knob? That's why I kind of pushed it up so that we have room if we want to put maybe some auxiliary switches, or if we want to put the Holley in there. Plus, I think it looks cool that it's got the curve here and the curve across the top, so I think that made sense putting that there. But there we go, our panel's solid and we are good to go. All right, guys, well, I want to get this video out for you guys for the long weekend, and it's been a long episode. We got a lot of stuff done. Plus, I got a huge mess behind me that we have to clean up, so we accomplished a lot. Next video, I will be continuing to put back the rear differential, button up a few things. The seat covers are ordered. They're actually shipped out. Also, I have a huge surprise coming for you guys. This thing is getting cammed. So I already have it. I got the tracking number. We have a cam kit with springs we are going to make this second gen Hemi rowdy. So things are gonna get spicy here pretty soon, so I'm excited. Hopefully you guys are too. If you guys are enjoying the series, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new to the channel, check out all the other videos so you can see how we got to this point, and we'll see you guys on the next video.